Hey, all my Crimsonites, and welcome to the Crimson Cure channel, where we embrace our femininity, increase our womanly value, and celebrate our brothers. So join me on our feminine journey to learn, heal, and grow. Hey there, everybody. How we doing today? How are we doing today? We gotta unpack marriage being the lowest, not just sex work, but the lowest common denominator form of sex work, y'all. Because there is an exchange. And the hoes got it so twisted. Hoes and simps and Johns and tricks got it so twisted that they think they can hold the standard of interactions between men and women, and everybody else is copying off of them. That's the part that get me. The part that get me is that hoes, tricks, and simps think that they have uncovered the only and or most important part or element of male to female interaction, and that somehow everybody else is copying off of them. Got me all the way messed up with that. Ain't nobody copying off no hoe. This is in the same strain as this is trying to flip the narrative, because the sex worker, the prostitute, the geisha, the whatever, the escort, whatever name you wanted to give a sex worker throughout history, throughout various different cultures, have always been regarded at the lower end of the female totem pole. It has always been the lowest form of female to male interaction, mainly because it strips away every other concern and every other element other than the transaction between sex and some type of monetary compensation for that, to strip it down to a commodity to be sold and bartered and traded. A relationship that is not predicated on anything other than the basest, most carnal desires that two human beings can engage themselves in. And that's not to demonize sex. It's just that is a carnal biological function. And when you strip emotions, love, concern, responsibility, accountability, rights, and things of that nature away from that act, then you relegate it down to something that becomes disgusting and something that becomes detrimental over time. Because the interplay between the whore and the John, the interplay of transaction between the sex worker female and the John who is male, is that in these cases and scenarios, the two people, it's really demon time at this point, because they just have been quiet all day. I think they wait to my show. I'm not sure. But anyway, and the only reason I say something because that just like ticked me off. But anyway, it threw my train of thought off too. But the two people, the trick and the sex worker, get to see one another. They get to see the underbelly of male and female nature. The sex worker, sees the underbelly of male nature, stripped of any of his higher self. And the John sees the same thing with the sex worker. He sees female nature at its lowest point, the underbelly of it, the downside or the negative side of female nature, right? Stripped of its good, stripped of any honor that it has, any of the good parts of it. And this is what has always made it a low form of male to female interaction. Okay. It's always made it a low form of male to female interaction because it is stripped of any spiritual anything, any good, anything. So the two people get to see the negative parts of male and female nature, and they interact within that negativity. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? And it's low. It's low specifically because it is devoid of all the other interactions that are supposed to accompany the sexual interaction. Okay. Oh, this means a lot to me. Thank you, Enchanted One. Say your content has renewed my mind and changed my life. I study your work like a curriculum for life. Thank you. That I don't even know what to say to that. Thank you. I'm happy that anything that I have ever said has ever helped you in any positive way. Thank you so much, Miss Enchanted One. And thank you, Dre the Dreams. I'm glad you're covering this story. And thank you, Miss Mia, for your super sticker. I appreciate you, sweetheart. And so because it is the whore John interaction is stripped of everything good of both male and female, you don't have to ascend to your higher self in order to do that type of transaction, especially consistently. Okay. You don't have to reach your higher self. There's no challenge of having to communicate well. There's no challenge of having to see to someone's rights or see to someone's emotional well-being or see to someone's, well-being outside of that, to be concerned about them as a person outside of those interactions. So it's easy because it's always easy for the human being to do what comes to our most basest carnal, our nafs. Islam call it the nafs. Okay, it loosely translates to English as the self, but generally speaking, when you hear Muslims say the nafs, we're usually referring to base desires of the human being. There's nothing wrong with the desires. It's just that the structure has to be there for those desires to not destroy us and destroy society by us recklessly engaging in it. Okay. So it doesn't take work. It doesn't take too much of you to engage in your most carnal desire without having to add anything to it or do anything more for it. But it's destructive in the sense that, and it's destructive for the same reason, because you don't ascend to your higher self in order to do it, you actually ascend to your lower self. See, what people don't understand is the human being is a number line. Y'all know what I mean? A number line. Let me number. Let's see. I want to get the number line. And I know that y'all know what a number line is, but this is just this is the simplest, this is the simplest, let me just get a quick image of a number line real quick, just so I can have the visual aid, right? Hold on. This is not doing what I needed to do at all. It's not big. Hold on. And she can't even sing. I'm talking about my upstairs neighbor that's making all this noise. Okay. Now let me share this. Okay. The number line. All right. Now it's fuzzy just because I stretched it, but we can see the number line, right? The human being, and this is not even a good number line. It's not even a good number line. That's not a good number line. Why did I pick that? Why did I do that? I thought they were doing a real number line, like a real one. Don't get me, y'all. I know that y'all know what numbers lines look like, but it will help me to keep me on task to see it. Okay. It'll help me, and it'll help. Okay. Finally, it makes sense to me now. Sometimes I just have to do stuff like this. Don't mind me, y'all. Okay. So the number line. Yeah, the negatives was important, right? So this is a basic number line. This is a basic number line in mathematics. I don't, my smoke detector ain't going off bookie. Not at all. The human behavior, human beings operate like a number line in almost every facet of their lives. Spiritually, we are number lines. We are either moving towards positivity. In the number line, we see in the middle, there's a 0 that's neutral. Okay. And then it extends off to my right. It would probably be your left, to the positive side. Okay. When you're doing your actual spiritual work, you are moving towards the positive side. The more spiritual work you are doing for yourself, the more towards the positive line. We'll just say, in the sense of spirituality, you're moving more towards God and godliness and goodness and obedience towards God, right? So as long as you're doing what you're supposed to be doing in that regard, you move more and more to the positive side of that 0. You increase. Okay. When you stop doing what you're supposed to do spiritually, and the Muslims know this, if you start slacking off on your prayer, if you start slacking off on your dress, if you start slacking off reading the Quran, if you stop or you start backing up off of those good deeds, any good deed, any form of worship, you start moving towards that 0. You start moving towards that 0. Now, what's on the other side of the 0? The other side of the 0 is negative. Okay, so then you go into the red. You go into debt there. So you will go into spiritual debt. You'll come from spiritual abundance. If you stop obeying Allah, if you stop doing what you're supposed to do, if you stop doing good deeds, if you stop feeding and nurturing your spiritual self, you move towards that 0. If you keep going, if you don't catch yourself, you're gonna go to the negative. For Muslims, going into the negative is like losing your iman. May Allah forbid. May Allah preserve us from that. Okay. So when you don't do what you should do, you move towards that negative space. Okay. Takes a lot to come back to that middle ground and then go back to the positive way. All right. In every aspect, human beings work this way. Our health works this way. As long as you're eating properly, exercising properly, making sure that your physical health is the way that you're going to move towards the positive area. If you start eating crazy, not exercising, not paying attention to, how much activity you getting in, you start moving, you start gaining weight. You're moving towards that 0 into a worse physical health situation. Okay. And then you move past that into the negative space where you're not healthy. So in every instance for the human being, we have to work to maintain the positive side of this number line. Whenever we stop doing whatever work we should be doing in order to maintain that positivity, we start moving towards the negative spaces. Okay, we start moving towards the negative spaces. That's in every aspect. Financially, if you are not moving forward, you're automatically moving backwards. You can be doing that slowly or quickly, but that's the point. Every time you're not building, you're destroying. There is really, contrary to popular belief, there's no such thing as neutral for the human being. No such thing as neutral. The human being, there's no neutral. We're always going to move past that 0, whether we're going towards the negative or the positive side. We're always going to move past that 0. We're never going to sit at that 0. Never. Never. We're never going to sit at that 0. Because as long as you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. Whether you realize it or not, whether you grasp it or not, whether you understand it or not. Because everything in the world, whether it is corporeal and physical and concrete, or whether that thing is abstract or a part of the spiritual realm, if it is not maintained, it will fall. That is true of every system in the world. It's true of the human system. It's true of your physical systems. It's true of your mental systems. It's true of your spiritual systems. It's true of everything built in the world, both man-made and naturally occurring. There's no such thing as neutral. It's either moving towards positivity or it's moving towards negativity. And if it is not maintained, it will move towards negativity. You can build the strongest building made of steel and concrete and all of these other materials that we think are indestructible. Don't maintain it and see if it fails. Don't do the work that it takes to maintain that structure and see don't that structure start falling. I don't care if it takes 300 years. See if that structure don't start crumbling. See if it don't. There's no system. There's no system that doesn't need maintenance. Again, whether it is a concrete or it is an abstract, what are we talking about, Crimson? How do we go from hose to a number line? Because the human being, that carnal desire, strictly without any work towards the other parts of you, you always gonna be in that negative zone. This is why it's the lowest form of being a woman. This is why the sex worker and the trick see each other in their lowest form. Allah say in the Quran, you become worse than the beast of the field. Mainly because the beasts of the field are doing what they're supposed to do. You're not. Okay? So it's always at the worst possible. And again, this is not a demonization of sex. Sex is a natural function of the human being that same God that we supposed to be obeying created. I have never, not one time on this channel, demonized sex. Ever. Okay? I like sex. We understand that? But like everything else, it has a structure. Like everything else, it's either going to work towards good or it will work towards bad. It's only going to work towards positivity and building or negativity and destruction. Things always work one of two ways. Power can always be wielded one of two ways. So this is not me demonizing the concept of sex at all. God never said don't have no sex. He created males and females with everything that we need to do exactly that. And he made it feel good so that we would want to do exactly that all the time. He never said don't have it. He never said it was nothing wrong with it. The only thing that the Creator ever said was, I put it in a structure. You need to be married in order to do it comfortably. You need to have, in other words, it was not a pointless structure. It was not a pointless instruction that Allah gave us. The reason, or one of the reasons, and this is just my opinion, that sex was, we were told that we could have as much sex as we wanted as long as we were in committed marriages, was so that we would have to access every part of our beings in order to do that. That it could not be stripped to our most carnal, basest, bestial desire and left that way. marriages put you to the test. It makes you're either going to be a better person or a worse person in it. Relationships expose you. So you're either going to be the best version of you or the worst version of you. And you have that choice to make, because relationships like marriages demand more out of the man and the woman. It demands more out of you. You can't just come in. A married couple's marriage cannot survive with they don't talk, they don't communicate, they don't connect, they don't care about each other, they don't none of that. They just come in and then they have sex and then they just move around. That everybody would know that and agree that that's not a marriage. And a marriage cannot stand in that way. Not a marriage. Hookups don't even last. Hookups don't even last for that reason, because there's nothing else there to connect the human being. It's empty, in other words. Okay? So when we think about the number line, the prostitute, the sex worker, works at a deficit because the interaction doesn't add anything. It takes away something. Because sex workers are not called to access anything other than the base sexual thing. They're not called to do anything more or be anything more. Neither is the John. It's all working in a negative because it's something I told you there's never neutral. You're either going positively or going negatively. You're always moving along this number line all the time, every time, never zero. You can pass that zero, but you ain't never gonna stay there like indefinitely. You're not. Okay? So the sex worker always is operating in the negative because they don't access anything else to make them move into the positive. Because nothing is required. There's no requirement. See, the human being has to be required. We have to be forced to give. We have to be forced to access other parts of ourselves and do more and do better and improve and keep going. And we have to be prodded into that. We have to be, in other words, we have to be incentivized into certain behaviors. Okay? The human being works on reward, punishment. Everything we do works on reward and punishment in some way, shape, or form. There's either a good consequence or a bad one. Or at least a consequence you don't want. So the human being has to be incentivized to do certain things. Okay? And we have to be warned not to do certain things. The Most High incentivized us with paradise. He warns us with Jahannam. We have to be incentivized for that. A job incentivizes you to work harder if they say, well, if you meet certain goals, we'll pay you more, you get a higher commission, you get a promotion. That makes you work harder. Because you perceive yourself as receiving some compensation for more work. So that it doesn't, because if we don't have compensation to do more work, we won't do more work. If you know for a fact that the job that you have is never going to raise your pay, they're never going to give you good benefits, they're never going to give you good hours, Even if you need that job, you're not going to do your absolute best at that job. You're not going to put your very best foot forward because it's no reason. What are they going to give you for that extra work? Absolutely nothing. So why would you do it? What are you going to get out of it? Nothing. You would rather put your talents towards something else that's actually going to reward the talent and the work. Okay. You keep the job because the consequence is not having one, and then you got to scramble to find another job. But what if that take a long time and rent is due and bills is due and like that, and you got to pay for your car and stuff is due. You can't just quit. Everybody can't just quit. You understand? So the position of wife, let's circle it back. The position of wife, and we're going to get to Miss Bang. I ain't forgot about her. We're going to do that in the second half. The position of wife is given, when I said the last time, not as a way to denigrate women, but as a way to make her go to her highest self. Make her go to her highest self. Okay? To incentivize her to be her best self. How? Because not only is this man coming to take something from her, which is her sexual energy, it's a big deal for women. It's a much bigger deal for women than it is for men. Sexual energy. See, a man's sexual energy is kind of neither here nor there to a certain extent. Okay? That's not the best thing that he can give a woman. Okay? That's not the best part of him. It can be an awesome part of him. Let's not play that game either. But that's not the highest form of him. Okay? His highest value isn't necessarily his sexual energy or his access. Women, on the other hand, the access to it and us giving that to you means more to us even on a spiritual level, whether we want whether we want to admit that or not, is deeper. This is why the majority of women don't see sex as a one-to-one exchange, because in actuality, it is not. It is not. For us internally, that's not a one-to-one. Physically, it's a one-to-one. Spiritually, it's not. It's not a one-to-one exchange. And I know sometimes men would like that to be so, but it's not so. And it's even more pronounced when you are a lioness. It's definitely not a one-to-one. That's why when you see lionesses, we're not whores, because we haven't spent years just slutting around and whoring around, and we aren't the sex workers. This is why. Because it's not a one-to-one. It's not even. It's not even. We give more of us in that exchange than men do. Because for a woman, the way we're built psychologically, the way we're built emotionally, we are affected at a deeper level than physical with every sexual encounter. Okay. This is why most of the time, the vast majority of the time, women cannot separate feelings from sex. They cannot separate. They can't make the separation because biologically and psychologically, we're hardwired into the connections being made and not seeing sex as a one-to-one. We actually can't see sex like that. We can't see sex like that. We can't. This is why women be wanting something for sex. And sometimes men are like, well, you get the sex for the sex. No, absolutely not. You get the sex for the sex, not us. Okay? So for the female, and this is why sex work is so damaging to women faster than it damages men. Right? And the concept and the idea of female chastity has always been seen in certain ways. This is why the double standard exists for women being promiscuous versus men being promiscuous. It is born from our hardwired biological set. Okay? This is why that double standard exists. Because for as much as some men want to say, well, sex is 1-to-1, they don't want a woman that has as much sex as him, because they know, especially if he's been promiscuous, he doesn't want a woman that's been promiscuous, because even though that promiscuity doesn't quite affect him in the same way that it affects her, he knows it affects her more than it affects him, and that effect will be negative. So men know that sex is not a 1-to-1 with women. Men know that. Regardless of what they say, men know that. Okay? So when a law mandates marriage with sex included, obviously, within a marriage, right? Because really there's no marriage without the sex. Let's understand that. Okay? The sex, that's why we call consummating a marriage. The sex actually solidifies the vow that you took before Allah and your family and the witnesses. Okay. The elevation that Allah is giving wives is that he makes her access more of her in order to be in that position. She can't just do the sex, because she can't just do the sex anyway. It'll destroy her. So he gives the woman the opportunity to not be destroyed by consistent sexual contact, because that sexual contact is made by one man to her. In exchange, because there is an exchange, right? In order to help her elevate to her better self, she's incentivized to do so. That incentive is that the man doesn't just extract sex from her, he gives her the emotional connection, which is the other side of sex for women. See, for us, sex is like 90% psychological. It's like 10% physically for us. See, men have to concentrate to not ejaculate. Women have to concentrate to have an orgasm. It's the complete opposite, but it complements. Men have to concentrate on something completely else so that he don't orgasm before he wants to. On the other hand, women have to do that same level of concentration in order to orgasm. See, we don't do it like y'all at all. Sex is not even the same as we engage in it. It's not even the same. So, quick tip: the next time your wife get quiet during sex, she is not interested. She's concentrated. She's trying to have an orgasm, okay? And if she tell you don't stop, that means you had better not change that pace or position. Don't tick us off. Okay? When she doing all that moaning, that means she like what's going on, but she not about to orgasm. Not right then. And she quiet down and start going into that low And it ain't, ooh, she ain't doing all that. And she done got quiet, and all you can hear is this. Trust. Just trust the process. That's all I can say. Trust the process, guys. Trust the process. We're quiet because we're concentrating. You're almost there. We can see the finish line. It's right there. It's right there. I got to tell the secret, Miss Christina, because I don't think sometimes the guys get it. I think they think sometimes that when we go quiet that we've checked out of the sex. Oh baby, we've checked all the way in. We're dialed in. When we get quiet, we've dialed all the way in. We're concentrating on everything you do. Everything get heightened. All the senses get heightened. We're thinking. We got to think in order to orgasm. If we can't think, we're not going to have an orgasm if we can't think about it. Okay. So please don't think that your wife has checked out of the sexual experience because she is now quiet. Trust and believe you are hitting you hitting all the corners. You hitting them corners. Just keep driving. Just keep on driving. Don't you hit that brake at all. You doing your thing. If she go quiet, you doing your thing. Just okay. So we're gonna go to a commercial break. Then we read these super chats, and then we're gonna get to Miss Bang. So after these messages, we'll be right back. Because as always, we're going to have to go to ashkicking.com. The link is pinned to the top of the chat. If you want to keep your skin looking, smelling, and feeling its best all 2025, whether it's wintertime, summertime, spring, or fall, it doesn't matter. We always need to have moisturized, smooth, wonderful skin, and ashkicking.com is the way that you're going to get it. If this is going to be your first order, please take advantage of the 10% discount using the promo code Crimson. Once again, the link is pinned to the top of the chat, ashkicking.com. Oh, you guys are bam, 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 bam. You got to hit the like button, bam, bam. You got to, go ahead and hit that like button for me. Let me get to these super chats. Let's see. Thank you, Mogul, for your continued contribution and support. I really, really appreciate you, brother. I really do. Assalamu alaikum and jazakallah khair. Thank you, Quiet Faith, said always supporting the message. You're a great example in challenging times. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Quantum Solace said, Crimson, what you're saying reminds me of what we learned in physics, cause and effect. The cause is the conditioning, the effect, the result of the conditioning. Although balance is afoot, biblically reaping and sowing. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Almond Eyes. Said, thanks, sis, for letting the men know what it is. Gotta let the men know. And thank you, Bakish, for your super sticker. I appreciate you so much. All right. So we're going to get to Miss Bang, the other Miss Bang here. Okay. All right. The chat is cutting up. Y'all is crazy. I love my chat though. I love my subscribers. Let me just look at y'all. I love y'all. Y'all know that. Y'all are the bread and butter of why I come here at all. Like y'all are the bee's knees. But we gonna get to this. We gonna get to Miss Dora Bang. Back bangs. We're gonna get to back bangs. So we're gonna refresh you. Here we go.
Because
The lowest.
yes.
The lowest.
The lowest paid form of sex work. I believe marriage is the lowest paid form of sex work within the dynamic of cis hetero marriage between man and woman.
How so?
The reason why I say that is because when we look at the origins of marriage and we observe this ongoing, growing trend of the trad wife becoming this thing that we're seeing everywhere, it's this idea that the woman is there to serve and to be the homekeeper. And the idealized arrangement is that the man makes the money, he financially takes care of the home, and you get love and acceptance and the title of wife in return. And now when we look at marriages just more commonly within our...
Now, supposedly, I guess that's supposed to be a bad thing. She might be. I suspect that. A lot of these hyenas, let me just speak to that for 2 seconds. A lot of these high-level hyenas out here are witches. They are brujas. They are. They'll tell you they not. They are. They do all kinds of spells. They do all kinds of spells, all kinds of seances, all types of, calling, quote unquote, calling, to the ancestors. And they do a lot of, quote unquote, spirit work and all of this other type of work and they will dress it up in other language so that you don't suspect what they are doing and things of that nature, or what it's really about. They dress their language up for those who do not understand witchcraft, okay, and do not understand left-hand path work, left-hand work. So they do witchcraft. Some of them say so openly. Some of them try to hide the fact that they do these things actively. A lot of these hyenas are in covens. Okay, believe it or not, I am not being facetious here. I am not being hyperbolic. I'm not being sensational when I say that. This is why I'm saying that feminism is tied into it's a demonic thing, because it's not just the feminism. It's not just that. It's all the different spiritual layers to that connect to that. Again, remember the number line. If it's not positive, it's negative. If they're not worshiping Allah, who they're worshiping. You understand what I'm saying? And when I say Allah, I need the people listening to me to understand what I'm saying. The non-Muslims. I need the non-Muslims to understand. When I say Allah, I need my Christian brothers and sisters to understand. I need my Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters to understand. I need my non-denominational brothers and sisters to understand that when I say Allah, I am talking about the God of Abraham and of Isaac and of Jacob, the Lord, the God of Moses and of Jesus. You understand what I'm saying? That is who Allah is. That's who I'm talking about. So I need y'all to be very clear about that fact. That is who I'm talking about. That is who I'm referring to. That is who Allah is. You can call him Yahweh or whatever name, Jehovah, or whatever name other name you trying to apply to it. If he's the God of Abraham and of Isaac and of Jacob, and the God of Moses, and the God of Jesus, and the God of Muhammad, and the God of Ismail, the God of Noah. Okay? All of them. That God is who I'm referring to. Don't get lost in the word. Anyway. So when you're not worshiping Allah, who you worshiping? It's either moving towards the positive or the negative. It's not neutral. And by the mindset, we know that these chicks do not worship, nor do they submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they are going towards the negative. That is shaitan.
Local sphere outside of the sensationalized tradwife content, what we're seeing a lot is many unhappily married people, specifically women. I receive a lot of messages from women who tell me that in their marriage, they essentially have to, it's not that they have to, but they feel like they have to perform sexual favors for their husband in order for things to be done. Whether that's, for example, I don't know if you might have seen this flying around on the internet. There was an interview between Katy Perry and Alex Cooper on Alex Cooper's podcast called Call Her Daddy. And Katy Perry was saying that within her marriage to Orlando Bloom, if he closes the cupboards and, you know, cleans the dishes.
Not a wig off of Etsy. Not a Etsy wig, Miss Victoria. Not a Etsy wig. A Etsy wig. Not Etsy. I used to sell on Etsy. Etsy got a special place in my heart, but not an Etsy wig. I'm done. Because not Etsy.
And he's going to get his dick sucked as essentially a reward for closing the cupboard, washing the plates, just being a tidy human being. So we see a bartering system in place here where outside of Katy Perry, because Katy Perry's statement is representative of what a lot of women are doing in their marriages, where you do that thing he likes and then you get a particular need met. Now, a lot of people found issue with what I said because there's this.
They found issue with what you said because what you said was stupid. Again, this is the mind of a whore. This is a whore's mind. And I'm saying that not even to necessarily be funny or even to be offensive to her, but this is just the 100% thing. Because only in a whore's mind can it not be fathomed any other way that her needs are getting met specifically because she's doing specific sexual things for her husband before he makes any move to meet any of her other needs that aren't sexual. This is why I went through that long diatribe, not Poshmark. Poshmark? No, not even Poshmark. Not Poshmark. Because when we talk about the highest form, which is supposed to be marriage, the highest form of intimate interaction between men and women, okay? It's not a one-to-one. Didn't I just tell y'all that? It's not a one-to-one exchange. Allah knows it's not a one-to-one exchange. So therefore, The marriage was constructed and the rights were given to men and to women, and they were stated the basic rights that a wife needs, the basic rights that a husband needs. And for these things to be observed by each other. Y'all clowning in this chat because see, that's so funny because of what Harbor Freight said. Because why come you can buy a hard hat in Harbor Freight? Why did I have to look over and see that? I was going good. Oh God, I almost got to cut the chat off because y'all clowning. Not a Harbor Freight. Not the same place you can get a hammer, a tool belt, and a hard hat. Not the same place you can get a car jack, a halogen light, and a table saw. Not the same place. Not the same place. You can get a thing of WD-40, some grout. Why y'all do me like that? Why y'all do that to me? Not the same place you can buy that little Flexi Seal. Not the same place you can probably get some tools to do some epoxy with. Then she got an epoxy with. Leave me alone. Not an epoxy. She got an epoxy wig, y'all. Okay. Let me. I gotta leave the chat alone because y'all done made me laugh and I lost my train of thought. Anyway. Okay. In a marriage, there is supposed to be all the rights that a husband has, all the rights that a wife has. Those needs are to be met regardless. Regardless of what, Crimson? Sex being present at every moment. See, the beautiful thing about the way Allah set up a marriage is that He knows He created women to be a vessel. And He knows that He created men to pour into that vessel. Men are a vessel as well, to a certain extent, because we know that even in the Bible, God refers to women as a lesser vessel. Men also have a space where they are vessels because you have to pour into them. But women are potential energy. We react. We're literally the mirror. So what he when he acts upon us, and he acts upon us in a way that Allah has sanctioned and described and said what he's supposed to do, when you have a wife, because he didn't say go find a woman, he said go find a wife. Every woman is not a wife. All right? Because even in Quran, Allah talk about who's for who. You know, these extra promiscuous, and those are not the words that's used, but the concept. The promiscuous men is for the promiscuous women. Those go together. And the righteous women is for righteous men. Those go together. See, so he starts breaking it down in categories of who fit for who. So every man is not a husband and every woman not a wife. These are stations that you need to ascend to and that you need to take seriously. You got to take that serious. You have to become that. You got to want to be that. And you have to be ready for the sacrifice that though each of those positions call for you to do and to make. Because husbands have a lot of sacrifice that they're making, but so do wives. And even though they may not be making the same sacrifice, they're definitely going to make those, whatever sacrifices they're making, if they're doing it right, they're going to make them to the same level. And sometimes he going to make more, and sometimes she going to make more. Sometimes he going to be having to do more. Sometimes she going to have to do more. Sometimes he going to have to take more. Sometimes she going to have to take more. Sometimes, you understand? It's never zero. It's never like this. It's always moving. Everything in life do that. Okay? So since Allah made females a potential energy, a more passive energy, she react. He act upon her and she react. A wife will ascend to her better self because of this action. Because he, the husband, is doing what he should be doing, she returned that energy to him. He acts upon her and then she reacts. She reciprocates. Isn't that what men ask for? They want the women to reciprocate. That means she's not initiating, she's responding. Okay? So a wife is going to have the proper response to the proper stimuli. If she got a husband, he's the proper stimuli, mentally, emotionally, all of that. If she's a wife, she's going to reciprocate that energy. She's going to return the energy to him, actually more than he gave her. Because when they say women multiply, we do. Okay, we give you more of what you gave us. The vessel's bigger. Okay? Well, not bigger, but anyway, I think y'all know what I'm trying to say. It's not bigger. But in any case, it could be. Because that's kind of our job, to be vessels. I might be on something. Anyway, we react to what our husbands do and how they give and how they, this is where the incentivization to be a better woman come about. The lionesses can attest. When our husbands be husbanding, we don't actually take that as a signal to not act properly. We don't take that as a signal to rest on our laurels and not reciprocate. We actually compete with him on who gonna treat who better. We strive for the reciprocation on every level. We do not want to be left behind in the sense of we can think of 1,000,001 things that he do for us that we like. But if you were to ask him what we do that he like, he would be hard pressed to come up with anything. We don't like that. Means we're not doing our job. Means we're not doing our job. My husband should not be hard pressed to think. And he gotta rack his brain. When the last time she did something I wanted her to do, or liked for her to do, or appreciated that she did it. That should not be the case. Okay. It should always be the case that he can think of things and not just appreciating her off the strength that he married her, but he can think of ways in which she has poured back into him, ways in which she has supported, ways in which she has reciprocated his good energy towards her. That's the incentivization. The other beautiful part about that setup is that it makes sex easy. And this is the part that the whore don't understand. The rights being fulfilled makes the sex easy for both parties. Doing what you're supposed to do outside of the bedroom makes the bedroom an easy place to go. I don't mean going through the motion of it. I mean, but also going through the emotion of it. Don't just go through the motion of the marriage. And we went to the school, and there's going to be routine. But don't get lost in the routine. The routine is not what's really keeping the marriage going. It's why you do what you do. That's what's keeping the marriage going, or that's what should be. Why are you doing this? You're in a routine. Sometimes it's challenging. Sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes it's cool. But why are you going through all this? Why are you going through it? Why are you doing it? That's the connection part. Okay. That's the connection part. Excuse me. If everybody's rights are seen to, it makes the bedroom an easy place to be, because when the rights are being seen to, and we both feel seen, and we both feel appreciated in the marriage, and we both feel, valued and regarded well and respected in the marriage, then that in and of itself is more than half of the turn on. So now you don't have to look at your husband as resentfully, and he don't have to look at his wife resentfully, and then they don't treat the sex like a chore that has to be done, like sweeping the carpet or something, dusting the blinds. All right. But the whore doesn't understand that, because she has only ever commodified her sex. She has not accessed any other part of her femininity or womanhood in connection with a man. So because she's trained herself not to do this, she's actually done the opposite of a wife. She's done the opposite of what wives do. This is why this is so offensive, because she doesn't know what wives do. She's not a wife. She's trained herself to do the opposite of what wives do. She's trained herself to not have any deep emotional connections to the commodifying of her sex. She's trained herself not to do this. She's trained herself not to look at these men in any positive light. She either looks at them negatively or they just a number to her. It's just, okay, how much? That's all it is. She's actually trained herself to reject those emotional connections. This is why you don't turn whores into housewives, because the longer she trains herself to that, the more that actually, when you start doing a certain thing a certain way, the neurons in your brain, in your physical brain, connect those in that way. They connect like that. And this is how you master certain things, because you keep doing it, you keep doing it, you keep doing it, you keep doing it. And your brain creates those pathways. The neurons connect like that and they stay. If you keep training it, it'll keep doing it. So if you train your mind for whorism, then you can't untrain it and then train it into wifehood. Does that make sense? This is why whores can't be housewives, because you spent the last 30 years mastering the whore craft. You can't now switch over and master wifehood. You don't even know what it entails. That's like me spending the last 30 years in masonry work, and then now I want to switch over to electrician work. That's not how that works. That's how does that work? How? That's not what you've been training in. You've been training. You've been a mason. You've been a bricklayer. That's what you know. So why did you come over here trying to hit those wires? No wonder you got a shock. What's wrong with you? Being a whore and being a wife is two different things. It's just because we're both women doesn't mean anything. The mason worker and electrician are both men. What does that mean? So, and just because we women, that doesn't mean anything. It means nothing. One of them trained herself a different way, and the other one trained herself as a wife. And so now we know what wives do. Wives know what wives do because they do it. So this is why she can't fathom an exchange that is not simply the transaction and the transaction only. Excuse me. So when we want our husbands to do something, we don't tell him, if you go and get my oil changed, you're going to get you a little sucky tonight. Now, if we do happen to say something like that, he was going to get that anyway. And we're being flirty by saying it out loud. We just using the oil change as an excuse to flirt and say we gonna give them sucky later. That's all that is. But it's not a payment because he was gonna get the oil change anyway, and we was gonna do the sucky anyway. He didn't need us to say that to him for him to go and get the oil change. That was not a necessary statement. That didn't spur. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was going to get that done anyway. Because he had already put that in the schedule that this weekend he was going to change the oil in both the cars. He had already put that on the schedule. That didn't have anything to do with a sexual favor. But we know men get excited by stuff like that. So, we flirting. Now we flirting. Talking about some, and he gonna say, for real? Right. Miss Lady. We flirting. We flirting with him. Men like that kind of stuff. A simple flirt. A simple flirt. All you gotta tell. All you gotta do is tell him, and almost the most vulgar way you can put it. Don't even use no flowery language about it. Just put it in the most vulgar. Put it in a vulgar way too. Just exactly what you're gonna do. They get turned on by that. They, ooh, she do exactly. She can't even think. She can't think past the bangs on that wig about what a husband would want.
This idea that the sex worker versus the married woman are in completely different worlds where, hierarchically speaking, the married woman is at the top of the hierarchy because she's married, she's been chosen, she's done the thing, she's got the ring. But the sex worker is positioned towards the bottom of the power structure because of how society views women who engage with men for financial benefit and the shaming surrounding that. And so the whole pushback towards me referring to
With
marriage
the
as sex
button
work
open on the
was rooted
on
in
the
this
breast.
place for married women saying, how dare you liken me to a sex worker? I am not a sex worker. When in reality, as long as you're choosing to partner with men, there is an element of using your sexuality to get what you want. And within sex work exists on a spectrum. So there are more physical forms of sex work, which we would probably call full service sex work, which involves sleeping with someone and doing more physical acts.
Okay.
And then when we look towards the complete opposite side of the spectrum of sex work, there are things like, for example, phone sex operators, there are dominatrixes, there are people who sell foot pictures. Whilst what they're doing might not immediately come across to us as sex work based on a definition we've all been taught, it's all this idea of selling your sensuality and exchanging your erotic interactions for you to get something that you want.
And that and again, a whore's mind can't think past this. They cannot think past their coochie at all. They can't think past it. For her, there is no higher level of self of a woman. And that's really the sad part. Can't think past her coochie lips, baby. Ain't no higher form than the coochie lip. That's sad because coochie lips is short. Assuming you don't have roast beef curtains. How you can't think past that? There's no higher form of woman. So she said your sex or your sexual energy, there's no higher form of her. Notice she didn't say use your femininity. She did not say femininity. She said sexuality. She did not say femininity. She did not, because wives are using their femininity to get what they want. And that involves more than our sex. So you got to think if you're going to be feminine. You have to think. You have to start thinking. You have to think to the point where you are anticipatory. That would require an actual connection beyond a physical one to your husband, because we cannot anticipate the needs of a man that we are not connected to emotionally and spiritually. We can only anticipate his needs when we are emotionally and mentally connected to this man. Because with that connection, we can sense when he's moving in another direction, because energy never lies. It can't. Everybody can lie with their mouth, but they cannot lie with their energy. And if you're in tune with the man, you're in tune with the energy. You know when it changes. You know when his energy changed towards something else, and you know when it changes towards you. It's the whore that can't think. She can scheme and she can connive, but she does not think. Okay. She is not even making good use of her emotional compass. That's off. That's actually off. It's off. Feminine women are using their influence. I'm going to start saying that. Feminine women influence via their femininity. Non-feminine women manipulate because they don't know how to use their femininity for influence. Is that more palatable? Is that more palatable? Because I was getting pushback for the word manipulation because it has a negative connotation. But we definitely, and this is something that I explain in my book, that women are emotional managers. We're emotional managers. We manage all the emotions and the energies around us. The energies, not the emotions. We're energy managers. We're energy managers. You have to be a successful, productive, effective energy manager, you have to have moral integrity in order to do that successfully. And in order to do that where it benefits everybody involved, to manage everybody's energies properly. We're energy managers. Every woman is an energy manager. Hyenas are horrible at it. They manage energies for the purpose of disruption and negativity and foolishness. Lionesses manage energy for peace, for the purpose of peace. We like peace and we like to facilitate it. And a lot of times, sometimes energies can clash and create create an environment that's not peaceful. And so therefore, part of a lioness keeping the peace is not only her herself being peaceful, but managing the various energies in a way that they move properly. It's energy management. It's like a conductor, or not a, I don't know if conductor is the right. It's like women are like air traffic controllers. We're not flying the planes, but we do have to make sure that they don't collide. And we have to ensure that the information, as long as the information we're receiving is correct, then we have every incentive to make sure those planes don't collide. We're trying to make sure that those planes do not fall from the sky. So an air traffic controller it directs the planes. It makes sure that none of them are on the same altitude gonna collide. Make sure that this pilot has his heading and speed proper. This one's on the right trajectory. That one, what I'm saying, has to do a circle around and come back. This plane just took off, so you can't right behind it. So you slow your speed down to 180 knots. Use that. The air traffic controller doesn't want the planes to crash because it'll be their fault. If they convey the wrong information, they tell the pilots the wrong thing, wrong heading, wrong speed, wrong altitude, wrong. If they don't understand what's going on with the pilot, and they don't anything, it could possibly be their fault. Okay? So we manage the energies around us like an air traffic controller manages the planes in the sky. Okay? Lionesses learn, and it's a skill. It's a skill. You have to learn it. You have to continue to do it, and you get better at it over time because you are in tune with the people around you. Like if you got a husband and you got a house full of kids and stuff like that, like you have to get in tune with everybody, get the energetic information, and then you can manage it. And the energy will flow smoothly most of the time. Most of the time. Did the air traffic controller make sense? So when I say wives are energy managers, that's kind of what I mean. A whore doesn't understand that because she don't do it. She doesn't do it. Don't try to down the wife and act like we don't know what we doing because you don't know what you doing. Trying to mock the wife because you don't know what we do. That's like a dog. That's like a dog being mad at a wolf. We both canine, and wow, usually the wolf is at the top of the hierarchy than a dog. Like, okay, but we both canines, so we both know. Actually, you're not. You're not doing the same thing. You are absolutely not. You are absolutely not doing the same thing. Absolutely not. Well, a dog can be better than a wolf. I mean, the exception proves the rule. So, like, come on. And I'm not saying dogs, of course. I like dogs. But I'm just saying, like, we both canines. Like, that's like a house cat and a tiger. Well, cats don't work in this instance because all cat software is the same. The little ones do think they're big ones. I've literally seen a house cat bristle up at a tiger. I literally saw that. I've literally seen that. And it's like, are you serious? They think that they're the big ones. They think they're the big ones. Cats don't know. They don't know the difference. Let me get, you know what? Thank you, Miss Gail. I appreciate you, sweetheart. And how you doing, Miss Gail? Let's see. And they are, right? Timberwolves. The Timberwolves, they're huge too. You know, one thing I realized, I learned about wolves, they don't bark. And then I had to think about it. Like, wolves don't bark. They don't. I don't know if there's any species of wolf that will bark, but from what I was reading, wolves don't bark. They don't. They howl, they grumble, they grunt. They have vocalization, but they don't bark. They don't bark. That's interesting. Thank you, Quantum Solace. Is she flipping and dipping when many men, her dopamine levels drop substantially to a point of non-existence? This is when deep depression sets in. Dudes who marry these chicks already futile. This is true. Thank you, Chicago Chano. Says she got that U-line catalog weed head. Not a U-line. Not U-line. Thank you, Devin, for your super stick. I appreciate you. Thank you, Miss Enchanted. Said, do you plan on making the Vessel series public? I'm not too. Where is that? Is that Patreon? You know, I have to find it. If I didn't delete some of this stuff, because I deleted a lot of my back catalog. But I'll try to find it. It's probably on Patreon, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I can go back. I was thinking about making some of the Patreon stuff. I don't know what to do with that Patreon stuff. Let me stop lying. But anyway, thank you, D. Says like MJ playing basketball. Now he playing baseball. Yeah, it's like, you know, we like you as a basketball player, but you kind of in the wrong. We don't know you're athlete. Well, we both athletes. Yeah. Thank you so much. Just another mark. Said Garden Tools will always be Garden Tools. Appreciate you. Thank you, J Dub. Said the Chicago Roast influence is what got you. And thank you, Quantum, again. Said a woman's mind and femininity is more of a turn on to me than the physical because of having the opportunity to tap into her spirit. This is true. This is true longing for me as a man, although we all have a different mindset. That's actually beautiful. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much for all of you all's participation and chilling with me, even though we giggled for a good almost like a quarter of the show. But I want to thank y'all. But before we get out of here we go.
Join PCTechForum.net is a new site. It's a way we'll be discussing everything related to tech news. They'll be discussing the latest processors, graphic cards, laptops, hard drives, computer cases. They also have a section for pre-built PCs and custom-built PCs, and also a PC straight from the manufacturer. They also be discussing the operating systems and how to troubleshoot them. And said, last but not least, they'll also be discussing the latest games and business. The site is brand new, so people will join for the first time on there. So come and sign up today at PCTechForum.net.
And as usual, the link to pctechforum.net is pinned to the top of the chat. Please help the brother to reach and surpass his goal of 300 subscribers to that forum. It's everything tech. It's exactly what it sounds like. Very clean, very organized forum. Don't just sign up to it. Please go and start a conversation or become part of one. I want to once again thank everybody. Jump down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe to the channel if you have not. Once again, I'm your hostess, The Crimson Cure, and this was my perspective. Bye-bye, Crimsonites.